What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update with Tottenham on Tour's very own Brian Daigle. How are we doing, Brian?
We're doing good, thank you. Thanks for the plug. I'll just quickly thank you, everyone, for the support. The four of us at Tottenham on Tour are really, really appreciative of it. We're currently at 1,690. We're on a real push to get that to 2,000. We really want to do that. So thank you for your continued support, and please come over and join us at Tottenham on Tour.
Exactly. Everyone go over to Tottenham on Tour. Let's get them to 2K, people. Ever since Brian's been back in the UK, you guys have been brilliant.
Yep.
Going over there, hitting the channel, hitting that subscribe button. So keep going. Let's get him to 2,000. But without further ado, let's get into the update. Quite a bit to talk about today. And let's start off with the damaging injury news to Heung-min Son. Son picked up a muscle injury in the first leg against Chelsea, and it's likely he is going to be sidelined until the international break. Those are the words from Antonio Conte. It was a scan that they did because he was feeling a bit of discomfort in his muscles the next morning. I mean, there was no sign of an injury when he went off, and then the scans came back in the morning, and it's not good news. He's due to miss now. Second leg against Chelsea, obviously the FA Cup before that, the North London derby, the Leicester game, and the Chelsea game in the league. And we'll see how quickly he gets back when he gets back on the training pitch as well. But how damaging is it?
Extremely. It's news we've been dreading. And as you rightly said, when he went off against Chelsea, didn't look like anything was wrong. But now, obviously, today's picked up. Do we even know what muscle it is? If it's his hamstring, his calf,
It's in his leg. That's all it says.
Okay, all right then. So he has a leg muscle injury. Yeah, this is news we really didn't want to hear. And obviously, it may have skewed the transfer market. It may have skewed, not the transfer market, but where we go shopping. It's a big blow. It's huge.
Yeah, definitely. But let's move on for some transfer news now, and let's talk about Adama Traore, the name on everyone's lips at the moment. Quite a few updates on this, so I'm going to go through them, and then I'll go to you, Brian, to get your views on it. First one from Simon Stone, and it's actually the latest one as well, and he says Tottenham are expected to make a firm bid for Adama Traore this January, and that's from Simon Stone of the BBC. Very, very reliable. Matt Law says Fabio Paratici has opened talks over a move for Wolverhampton star Adama Traore. Conte sees Traore filling in the right wing-back role and adding that much-needed pace and dynamism to the Tottenham squad. Sammy Mockbell says Tottenham look to be edging closer to snapping up Traore from Wolves. Sources have indicated the possibility of Traore joining Spurs this month are very strong. Ian Ladyman from the Daily Mail says Tottenham attempting to wrap up a £20 million move for Adama Traore, but currently unwilling to let Matt Doherty go the other way. Wolves are aware of Tottenham's interest in the 25-year-old and are willing to let the Spain international leave this month, with Traore entering the final 12 months of his contract. Matt Law says Antonio Conte's assessment of Spurs being middle made its way back. Sorry, that's a different update. Fabrizio Romano says Tottenham will look to sell Steven Bergwijn if Adama Traore arrives at the club this month. So what are your opinions on Adama and the whole news surrounding it?
So it's the rumour that's just gathering pace more and more, isn't it? And now it looks like substantial sources are saying this with very good reputation. So this one looks like it is going to be a goer. Whether it goes through, well, it looks like it should do. But this is gathering pace, and I think this is going to happen. I'm not happy with the Bergwijn bit you said. I'm not happy with it because I still think there's a player there. But you said something when we were just off camera, which I hadn't taken into consideration about the when he runs forward, unlike Emerson, he is going to take players with him and create space. And I hadn't thought of that. And that is a very, very good point. And it's what he will do. He will attract people like moths to a flame.
Yeah, because with the strength, the sheer physicality that he has, the sheer running strength that he has, unlike Emerson, where teams are just letting Emerson do what he wants at the moment because they know he can't do anything. With Adama, I know Adama's end product ain't great, but for what with Adama is he's going to run at you, and he always attracts 2 or 3 defenders. I mean, every time we play them, how many men do we put on him every time?
Oh, exactly. I mean, the one thing you can say with him is he certainly strikes the fear factor into teams, and if not teams, managers. And when he's going at full flight, he's nigh on impossible to stop. So.
And do you think that with this Son injury, he can also help ease the burden of that injury in the coming, if he does come in as soon as possible?
Well, his stats say no, don't they? If we're honest, with 0.
Just from a sheer personnel point of view.
From a personnel point of view, yep. And as we were saying, if there's one man that could probably coach the stuff that he needs into him, it's thankfully the man we've got. So I can see where you go with that, and he could well do. He could well do. So we'll see what happens. But this one, like we said, is gathering more and more pace. This has gone from the summer of being a maybe and a link to really, really. I think we're well past link now. I think this is firm.
Yeah, and we had a big debate this morning. Obviously, you were quite worried. You were quite worried in the morning about Coutinho going to Villa, Trippier going to Newcastle. What's happening with Spurs? Now with this news about Adama and it is gathering pace, does that ease your fears a little bit?
Well, I said one in, didn't I? I did say one in. So one in is one in. I listen, I can't go back on my words. I'm a man of my word. I said one in will be if it's a guy of substance. And this guy, I still put him in potential, but there is a lot of substance there. I mean, if we can polish this diamond off, he really could do something. So I've got to say, like I said, it's not so much that Trippier has gone to Newcastle, it's the surroundings of how he's gone to Newcastle that has got to me. But yeah, I said one in, so I can't really go back on what I said.
But let's get it right with Adama. There was one season where he was adding that end product to his game, right? Yep. He was getting goals, he was getting assists. Obviously, it hasn't worked out that way this season, but it just shows that he's got it in his locker, and it's just going to take a top manager or a manager to unlock that.
Well, you look at it as well with Wolves, like Crystal Palace, they've got a complete 180 on how they play football. So Adama's had to adjust to that as well. So you've got to put that into account. And yeah, we shall see. I mean, Wolves, he's getting into positions, they just haven't delivered on the final ball. Like you said, that Crossfield United game, he did his job. The striker didn't get the goal, the goal, but we shall see. This one is getting interesting, and maybe I'm a little bit excited about this one now. Maybe I'm thinking about it. I'm a little bit more excited with this one. Not the situation, not where we're going, but with the actual deal.
Okay. Let's move on. And there's been some interesting quotes from Antonio Conte in his press conference regarding Christian Eriksen. So I'll read you the quote and then tell me what you think. So the quote is, I didn't speak recently to Christian. For sure, it was great. It was fine to see him on a pitch, to see that he is kicking a ball. We are talking about a really important player, but especially a top man. What happened this summer was very not good for the people that worked with him and the people that know him. I was scared in that moment, and now to see him again ready to play football is a great news. I think for Christian, the door is always open.
It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. This one, not for me, and it's not for me for a few reasons. One, his insurance will be absolutely astronomical. Secondly, like I said, you don't know what Christian Eriksen you're getting. And if people were slacking Coutinho, again, yes, he's been more proven recently, but I don't like the way he left. And we keep going on about us being sentimental about certain players, and people mention about Højbjerg or whatever. And I feel it's just the same with this. I wish Christian Eriksen all the best in the world. I wish his family every success in the world. Even if he was to come back as a coach, if he goes down that avenue, more than happy to welcome him back. I just don't think he is the answer to the problem.
It's interesting because obviously we're talking about a player that when he was at Tottenham, when he was in his prime, he was probably the best in the Premier League at what he was doing. Chance creation machine. Yes, in the final year at Spurs, it was not great from him whatsoever, down tools. But I think that when you've got the feeling in your mind that you want to go, and to be honest, he had all his right given to him to do that, to want to go. I don't think he down tools on purpose. I think it was a subconscious thing where, you want to go and it just doesn't happen for you on the pitch. And you got to remember as well, in Eriksen's last year, it was also Spurs weren't at their greatest, were they? There was a lot of situations around Christian Eriksen, why it wasn't working. It wasn't just Christian Eriksen. But having said all that, if Conte thinks that he can come in and do the job, I'm 100% for it. If he can prove his fitness and stuff like that, I would 100% have him through the door. I mean, I was one in the last year of Christian Eriksen saying, look, we need to get rid of him. It's not working now. But if we give him a last chance saloon of his career at a top level football, I think he's going to grab that with both hands if he's fit enough. And if we can have someone of that ilk in the team, chance creation machine, knows how Antonio Conte's systems work, has played for Antonio Conte in a title-winning side, I think it's a no-brainer. I really do.
Listen, I see everything you're saying. I really do. And the thing is, let's face it, if we knew we were getting a prime Christian Eriksen back, whether it be the Tottenham or the late part of Inter Milan, then you're going to say yes. You're going to say yes. It's not rocket science. There were 2 seasons in particular where he was absolutely outstanding. But I just think that bringing back players just on sentiment and just...
It's not sentiment. It's not just sentiment, though, is it?
It'll 50-50, I'd say. 50-50, I'd go. But I can see where you're coming from, but just... Not for, like you said, Coutinho last day of the season, if it was available, it could happen, then yes.
But with Eriksen, right, let's say, for argument's sake, take out your mind that he ever played for Spurs.
Okay.
Let's say he didn't ever play for Spurs.
Okay.
And take that out of your mind. So sentiment is completely out the window. Played in Antonio Conte system, chance creation machine, top player. So apart from his fitness, what else is there to worry about?
When you say it like that, you're right, but it's his fitness is a major thing, but the huge stumbling block here is going to be his insurance. That is the huge stumbling block I see with this whole thing. I think it's just to be astronomical, and maybe something we won't look into paying just for the insurance purposes. But when you break it down like that, take the sentiment out. If Christian Eriksen was available, then I'd probably more than likely say yes.
Exactly. I love it when I wean you over, Brian. I love it.
No. Listen, like I've always said to you, I will listen to it, and if I believe what you're saying is right, I will always say, do you know what? Yeah, you've got a point. I'm not one of those that are so tunnel vision. Where I'll say, right, no, you're wrong. It's either you either agree with me or you're wrong. That's not the case ever. So when you lay it down like that, you can't argue with it.
All right, let's move on. Ali Gold has been speaking about the right-back situation, and he says Tariq Lamptey has been looked at as a British homegrown player, but he is believed to have a big price tag, and a January move would be difficult for any club. And for argument's sake, we brought you that price tag yesterday, and they're looking apparently for £50 million. And for him, I think that's a bit too much, a bit too steep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where this happened. It happened with Ben White as well, with the filth. They have one good season, and then all they do is straight away go in and come up with this 50 million. I don't know where 50 million comes from. Don't get me wrong, he's a very, very exciting player and something I'd really look forward to seeing at the club, but I just don't get the 50 million price tag.
Yeah, same as you. I mean, I really rate him as a player. I think he's done really well last couple of seasons at Brighton. But for £50 million, does that prove good value when there are other targets out there, especially if we're looking to sign Adama now? I just can't see it.
Yeah, it's if we could get him, fantastic, but I just don't see the value in that price.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Ali Goldsmith speaking again, and he says Antonio Conte believes, this is on Frank Kessie, that Antonio Conte believes his squad requires another central midfielder to add to his options. One of the players Spurs have looked at bringing in is AC Milan's Frank Kessie. I mean, we've spoken about him at length time and time again on this channel. It's that links that never go away with Frank Kessie. Obviously, his contract runs out at the end of the season, so he's free to speak to other clubs for a pre-contract right now. But in my opinion, if you want to bring him in, you bring him in now. Get the competition out the door, pay 8 to 10 million and get him through the door if you want him in.
Yep, that will be a real sign of intent. You know what I mean? You're not breaking the bank. It's 8.5 million. I don't know what his wages would be. I imagine it'd be one of the highest earners. But he is a guy of substantial class and substantial quality. And like we were saying, when players are in the last year, if you're serious and you want them, you need to be ahead of the queue. And if you need to swallow 8.5 million to get him, let's face it, if he signs for 8.5 million, Ben, how much does his price go up to once he's signed?
Yeah. Spot on. It probably goes up to above 50 million.
Well, if Lamptey's 50, you've got to think, right, okay, so there you go. So to me, this one is no-brainer to try and push over.
The only problem I can see with it is that he's currently at the AFCON. So I'm not sure if a deal can be done if he is at the AFCON.
Well, one thing I will say with that is we thought that with Tomiyasu, and then it happened with Gil at the Olympics in Japan. So I'm sure somehow, through technology and whatever, it can be done, but it does put a little stumbling block in between it.
Yeah, and we also signed Didier Zikora when he was at the World Cup, didn't we?
Oh, here's the original, wasn't he? He's the original. Jesus Christ. But yeah, so it can be done. It's not like back in the days where they had to come to the club, had to have a medical with the it can all be done remotely. So so with Kessie, there really is no excuse why not we can't jump in the queue. They can roll the dice and try and get the end of the season, but this is a player you need to try and get in and ahead of the queue.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Ali Goldsman speaking again, and he says Italian media have linked Spurs with AC Milan left-footed centre-back and captain Alessio Romagnoli, who is out of contract in the summer, but the 26-year-old is not believed to be one of Paratici's targets. This is a report we brought you yesterday that apparently we could be looking at him, but Ali Gold has poured freezing cold water on that.
Yeah, I mean, with this one, I as I said yesterday, I don't know a lot about the players, so it's hard for me to comment on it. Listen, I think, as we know, with meetings that might be happening and we're going to talk about soon, our whole transfer strategy might have been changed because of Son's injury, or there's other viable targets or targets. So with this one, we'll have to wait and see. But if this is one of the positions Conte said he wants to get resolved, then you've got to think there's another player in mind.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Pierluigi Gollini now, because Fabrizio Romano has been talking about him, and he says Antonio Conte has never been a manager to give a lot of game time to second goalkeepers. He says he's told Gollini is super appreciated in the dressing room and the teammates love him, but he says it's not a priority for Tottenham because Conte wants Hugo to stay. So can you really see Gollini staying if Hugo stays? Because Gollini probably came here in the summer saying, you know, I'll stick it out a year on loan with a view to be number one next season.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's why Hugo's contract hadn't been extended till now, because they thought, okay, if Gollini starts, then we've got the natural successor in. But it's just not worked out, has it? It's not worked out either way. And in the grand scheme of things, we've got him till the end of the season. We can cut the loan short then. I agree with the reporter. It's not really a big deal.
Yeah. All right. And the next one is from Matt Law. Saying Antonio Conte's assessment of Spurs being middle made its way back to Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis, with the pair set to meet in the Bahamas this week to discuss transfer targets and possible external investment coming into the club. Apparently, there's been new American investment that want to invest in the club, and apparently they've been talking to other investors over the past couple of weeks as well. So that's very interesting. But what is your take on Levy flying to the Bahamas?
Well, after looking at that beach, I think, well, who wouldn't, just to get on that beach? But yeah, listen, I was very, very quick to go crazy about this in our debate and say, why the hell has he gone there? Why? And then yourself, Mikey, who was on the show, saying, like, listen, it's more personal, it's more, especially if it's to speak to investors. So I take that on board. I take that on board and see it as a reason, and we know on the business side, if anyone can do it, that man can do it when it comes to the business side of things, and business only. So it is interesting, and I think this will be spoken about coming quite in depth in the coming days.
Yeah, and even if it's not spoken about, I think you'll probably see with our transfer activity what's actually happening.
I think, to tell you the truth, in all honesty, to be honest, I think a lot of this is doing naming rights. Obviously, it's going to have an impact on the transfer money and the funds, but I reckon that this could have a lot to finally do with the naming rights.
Well, it's very interesting, the developments going on today. I mean, we woke up this morning with Coutinho joining Villa, Trippier joining Newcastle, Brian going absolutely mental this morning.
What's different with that part?
But then we saw news of Spurs potentially getting Adama Traore and Levy apparently getting some new investment into the club. So things do seem to be moving, don't they?
Yeah, don't get it wrong. They all seem to be moving. At the moment, it's news that is just news at the moment, or media hearsay. Apart from until they hold the shirt or until they have their name on the stadium, he would be saying. But look, we're ending this day and leaving this studio a lot more positive than when we went into it, or I am most certainly.
Yeah, and that's what we love to see. And last but not least, Premier League monthly awards, and Spurs are up for 3 of them. First of all, the Manager of the Month. Conte is up for Manager of the Month alongside Arteta, Klopp and Pep. Out of those 4, do you think he has a chance?
Conte, yeah.
You think he's going to win it?
Conte, if you look at it, what did we get in December? We won at Palace. I think it's 3 wins and a draw, I think.
Yeah.
So I want him to get it, but I forgot Man City are on fire, aren't they? They're on fire. I think it's great for him to be in the run, and I think he deserves to be
got
it.
a shout as well.
Yeah, because of their turnaround. The defeat to Man City was it? It was January the 1st before we played Watford, wasn't it? So he's not that game. That defeat's not. Yeah. I think Pep's going to win it just because Man City be on fire. But it's good to see Conte there, and he does deserve a mention.
And Player of the Month, we've got Heung-min Son up for Player of the Month, surprisingly enough. He's alongside Raheem Sterling, Martinelli, Odegaard, Cancelo and Maddison. How is Son weaned himself up to Player of the Month?
I mean, when you told me this yesterday, we've got to mention it. I was like, what the hell? How is this? Because he hasn't been himself, but he's got the goals and the assists, and that's what a striker is employed to do. But yeah, the players again, who do you mention that's in there?
Sterling, Martinelli, Odegaard, Cancelo and Maddison.
If I had to pick one, I think it's going to be Maddison. Maddison's been on fire this month, or last month, should we say.
Maddison, I mean, they all have, to be honest. Cancelo's been brilliant. Martinelli and Odegaard both have been brilliant. Sterling
Martinelli's
as well.
a good player.
To be honest, having a look at that list, I actually got to think it might go to a Martinelli or Odegaard.
Okay, you go for that. I'm going for Maddison.
Okay. And Goal of the Month. Goal of the Month, you've got a whole host of goals here. You've got Bernardo Silva, Maupay, Mount, Gray, Lacazette, De Bruyne, Trent, and Lucas Moura, and his goal against
Norwich.
Norwich, that was it, with a sublime goal that was, wasn't it?
Do you know what? I love this goal, not just because of the rocket, but the way he takes on two players before he takes that shot. I think it's an absolutely sensational goal. But I don't know why December always seems to be a month where the goal of the month is just incredible. Incredible. And I love it. I can remember I was at the airport just waiting to board my plane, get on my plane to come back home from Canada. And I was sitting in the lounge when Trent scored that goal against Newcastle. And that is a banger.
Is that going to win it, you reckon?
I really want Lucas to win it. And I think what's helped him with that is the taking on the players. And then, do you know what? I'm going to go Lucas.
You know what I'm surprised is that Lanzini goal is not there.
That's true.
That is surprising because that was a banger. Didn't touch the ground, both feet, unbelievable.
That's very, very true. But I think my heart is saying Moura. And I love the goal. And like I said, the way he's taken on a couple of players, and it was a rifle of a shot. And my head is telling me Trent.
All right. Well, that is your Tottenham update today. A lot of information to take in, but I guess the key takeaway there is Son injured, and apparently we are going in hard for Adama Traore now, with a lot of reliable sources claiming the fact. So that is our Tottenham update. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of our news updates today. Don't forget to go and subscribe to Tottenham on Tour as well, in that big push to 2K. But that's it from us. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.